Hello, my friends. This is the 1 year overview reading for the S&P 500 for the year of 2022. So this is something that I developed over the last 21 years, this spread. And I'm able to determine quite a bit of generalized information, like years highs, years lows, stuff like that. As well as behavior around local highs and local lows for the months, trade opportunities, and all sorts of stuff. And so this one we give out for free. It'll be here on the site. Anybody that wants to look at it, it has both the SO portion and the meta portion of SO meta analysis. The combined, the full version. And this is an example of what any of our 1 year overview spreads would look like. You could do this for any stock, any investment, any year. Doesn't matter. It works the same way. Guys, get this. This is it right here, right? Created on May 11th, 2021 at 10 p.m. That's the S&P 500 1 year reading for 2022. Boom. All right, guys. So that's the power of SO Meta. It doesn't matter. I mean, I traded off of I day traded today based off of a reading that I did last month. You know, using the 1 year for 2021, which I did in 2022. So you could do any year, any time, any stock. Doesn't matter. And with that said, this again is the S&P 500 1 year 2022 1 year overview spread, and it's currently December 31st. 2021 at 4:35 p.m. So the theme is there's going to be a lot of back and forth. Are we bullish? Are we bearish? Are we bullish? Are we bearish? Kind of like a pretty tight fight between the two. That's the overall theme. Price swings. And then also it's crossed with the devil card. So there's going to be a lot of intentional faking out. Like the computers are going to do a lot of things like purposefully like triggering an indicator, or, you know, making you think something's going much higher than it is. I mean, they know how to manipulate. They know when to manipulate. I mean, they're computers that are designed to get smarter and manipulate humans better. All right, so you can't play by their rules. With that said, the there's quite a bit of price swinging. It looks like the end of March, and again around the high in July. And then we have a very, very significant market fake out towards the end of February. We're coming out of Mercury retrograde in the end of February, or the influence of it, the storm. So the very last of the influence is February 24th. And then we have a full moon on the 16th, February 16th. And I find that these moments when we go from Mercury station direct to a storm and then storm to no influence, these are generally reversal points. I've been studying that Mercury retrograde in relation to the market for about 20 years. 17 years of the Mercury retrograde, and that's 3 a year, guys. So I know a thing or two about it, I think. With that said, again, we've got a fake out near the low of May, and that's also a lunar eclipse on the 15th and 16th of May. We go into Mercury retrograde on the 10th of May as well. So those are interesting. That's going to do a little something. Where else do we have? And there's a lot of trade opportunity around these two fake out moments. So there's a fake out again towards the end of February, and another fake out near the low of May. Those are the major fake outs that stand out for the year. And they're incredible trade opportunities, the best trade opportunities of the year. That's all pretty much indicated through the correlation here to the both trade cards. So when we see correlations to these trade cards, we're also seeing trade opportunities, right? And if it's a correlation to this trade card, the Ace of Swords, that'd be indicated by a dark purple because it's a secondary trade card. All right, behavior around the months, or excuse me, around the year's high. There's going to be a very sharp decline, like a very sharp decline through a support level that people probably won't expect. It'll just be deep. And then behavior around the low. We'll be revisiting. The behavior around the low will be near the revisiting of specific crests. And there'll be like an M pattern back and forth through a price level around the low, where it'll be like crosses the price level, crosses the price level, crosses the price level, crosses the price level, that sort of thing. But actually, it's probably not even an M pattern. It'll be a little bit more erratic than that, being that it's the Six of Cups rather than the Five of Cups. And then the trade opportunities. So there's going to be a ton of notable volatility near the year's highs. And it's going to come up against a technical level. It's likely the same technical level that we've reached. Fortune. We've got a fortune card here. It's a reversal in that position. Okay, there's some bullish. There's a lot of movement. A lot of change, like a wide change in price coming out of December into January, and there's bullish rotation that increases with momentum and like more of an incline as it progresses into the month. That's how the month kind of starts. There's an opportunity near the low. There's a good opportunity here near the low because this is a month's low somewhere in this month here of January, at the end of what looks like a correction, where there's selling off from a overbought peak and a year's high, and then we see a year's low. Okay, so there's a year's high and a year's low there in the first month of January, which makes sense. It's the first month, so year's high. Right on the edge of the month, we have an opportunity to cash in on a position purchased at the lows, And then there's a reversal due to some unexpected bad news having to do with health, a change in plans and health related. And that causes a reversal. It's also right around the just before we go direct, just before Mercury goes direct, and we come out of that first Mercury retrograde for the year. These areas here, in between these two brown lines, vertical lines, and then between these two vertical lines, that's where you see the majority of volatility during a Mercury retrograde in the shadows, and it increases as it goes to the station, decreases as it goes to the middle, then increases again. There's a lot more stuff that I could tell you about Mercury retrograde, but that's a whole nother. If you want to hear about that stuff, let me know, guys. Comment below and let me know, and I'll do a thing on Mercury retrograde, because I'd say I'm probably one of the most well knowledge about Mercury retrograde in relation to financial charts. I was studying it when people, before like you Googled, and Mercury retrograde had like 100, different things. It was not easy to study it. All right. The end of the month, there's a notable amount of volatility. And there's a sharp dip within a period of volatility as we exit that month, towards the end of that month. So the month's low will likely be somewhere around somewhere a little bit before or right on. Somewhere right around January 17th, but more likely towards the front end of it, like a little bit before. We should see a year's low and a reversal. And then again, we'll see a year's high, similar around the 31st of January, but more likely to be just ahead of it. All right, and then as we enter February, we are exiting Mercury station direct. We're exiting Mercury retrograde, and it's Mercury station direct at the very beginning of February. That's a reversal point, provided that the day of the station happens on a trading day. That's a reversal moment. That's important. It has to be on a trading day. All right, and then we enter. We enter with a rally, but we crash through that rally, breaking down through a diagonal trend line, a notable, significant diagonal trend line. We break down through that with volatility increasing on the way down. Yeah, it looks to me like we have the first year's high right on like the cusp between January and February, somewhere right around there, near the moon and near this change in news, change in plans, and a little bit ahead of Mercury station direct, maybe right around Mercury station direct. Actually, it's somewhere right there towards the end of January, beginning of February. That's that's after a year's low that takes place in January, after a notable decline out of 2021. All right, and then the high is also going to be, it's going to form. The January-February high is going to form when we break out through a resistance level just briefly, and then we break back down through it, and it kind of makes like a V or a sharp U shape as it goes up and down, crossing through that price level twice. And that's likely going to be, that level will be the Ace of Swords level, which will be major resistance, at which point when we hit up against it, we see a lot of volatility. around the highs. A lot of volatility, sharp decline. And I'm advised to make these trades have a lot to do with the highs of the year. Makes sense. Yeah, there's two main things. There's two main trade correlators, right? One is the Ace of Wands. It's correlated to, or Ace of Swords. It's correlated to the high. That tells me that that's a major resistance level with a lot of volatility. But then we've also got the Works card, the Three of Discs, which could be considered a support, having to do with support. And it's also correlated to the Fake Out, the Devil card. They both are to the Devil card, but also this is correlated through the Ace of Swords towards the high as well. So I'm thinking that we likely, well, it's a little early for me to say that. So when we fall from that peak in February, we reach the bottom shortly. Like, we fall from the peak to the bottom before we see any like notable like sideways movement, and that's towards the end of the month. The sideways movement will be like really tight, equal amounts of inflow and outflow, equal amounts of bulls and bears. It'll be a really tight range going sideways out of February. And that's also where we see another trade opportunity, and this trade opportunity has to do with a Fake Out, and it has to do with the Ace of Swords. Okay, so being that it's Mercury retrograde for that new moon on the 31st, the influence is going to be a little bit different than it normally is, where we would see the moon's influence like take place in a trough, or a peak, excuse me, just like within 5 days ahead of it, roughly like 7 days ahead of it, let's say. And then because it's in retrograde, what I've noticed is that it'll do kind of like the opposite. So let's just say like that first year's high is going to be like within 7 to 10 days tops of the 31st, near that cusp. So like between like the 31st of January and like February 10th, somewhere in there. Maybe very likely it could be the 3rd, actually. February 3rd. All right, so out of that sharp decline where we're going, and then we hit a support level and we move sideways. Matter of fact, that support level is correlated to the Works card. So that's going to be a price level there that's very notable for the year towards the end of February. I'll take note of that. Just like I'll take note of the price level of the high in February, or January-ish, February-ish, because that price level will be represented by the Ace of Swords. And I can use that information later on in smaller spreads in conjunction with this spread. ESO-meta, pattern recognition. All right, so going into March, we have, there's a significant something to do with news. There's like important news comes out in early March, around March 2nd, roughly. I'm advised to be patient, be prudent. There's something to do with a failure, political turmoil, great power and success later on. But it's something political. someone political creating turmoil. Someone. Huh. So I'm advised to be prudent early in that month. Well, let's say around about 10 days in or so. I'm advised to be prudent. We have a big move in early March, out of a decline, and we reach a notable resistance from that big move. But at that resistance level, there's a sharp decline through multiple support levels off of the high in March, and the low forms after multiple attempts to break a key resistance level fail. There's a trade opportunity to cash in on. There's a trade opportunity to cash in on some positions in the midst of some price swings moving into the second half or the end of March. God, I hope I didn't say May. I was saying March, because I'm talking about March, just to be clear. And that's, yeah, there's some price swings there, great powers. You have the power in the success card, but also the failure card. So there's some opportunity in there, but I'm going to be very, very careful, and I won't go big. I will go prudently into those trades. And then we have good luck right around the cusp of March, April. We have a big pop higher to turn a key resistance level into a support level. We establish a higher support. And to reach the high for the month of April, we see a very strong move higher. Most likely this is from a short squeeze of some kind. And that would make sense because we have that be prudent thing going on, with a fake out right on the end of February, which could really be blended with early March. So that would make sense to be careful there, because it looks like we're going down, and then poof, good luck, money flows in, there's a big move higher. This area is lesser than this area. Wow, Siri's so dumb. Like, I just said her name and she didn't pop up, right? But when I didn't say her name, did she pop up? Like, what kind of sense does that make? Alright, so there's also a notable reversal around the low. Like, there's a big, like, woof, reversal around the low, and or we have a new high, in April, like a new all-time high, but that could really be like the end of April going into that solar eclipse. April 30th is a solar eclipse. We move into a Mercury retrograde influence on April 26th. So there's really like there's probably a high right in here from which we sell down to a support level, dip below it, and then back up above it in early May. Okay. And then towards the second half, the ending half of April, there's 3 pokes through a important resistance level, and on the third poke, we fail and drop sharply. And that's probably blended in with this luxury card for early May, which is a selling down to, or decline down to, a support level, breaking through the support level, and then popping back up above it. The month's high and the year's high, and likely a New Year's high, are somewhere close to the solar eclipse on April 30th. It's going to form out of a big decline there's going to be a courageous rally up, something to do with a male leader inciting some sort of like courage. Huh. It's not necessarily going to be a new high. Yes, no, excuse me. It is. It's going to be a new high. I apologize. It's going to be a new high. So it'll be moving, rallying out, rallying higher here, then dropping at the end of April, but rallying higher even more to reach a new high. And we see that new high in May and June. And then there's an important support level highlighted at the low of May. Important. Where we also see a lunar eclipse on the 15th of May and the 16th of May. Lunar eclipses, they generally, well, eclipses, especially solar eclipses, they generally coincide with some sort of market correction, market crash even. However, that's not necessarily the case here. Okay, so highlighted, important support level highlighted. I believe it's likely to be the same support level that's highlighted at the end of February, where we have a correlation to a fake out. And we likely have another fake out, like major fake out here near a low for May. And towards the end of the month, we're range bound. That could be like we're moving sideways back and forth between a range, or it could be like we're up against the top or the bottom of a range. I'm going to go with the top of a range based on the correlations surrounding it with the high correlator card. Now remember, the high correlators, the year high correlators, they're associated with a sharp decline through an important support level. So just be aware of that. And Mercury station direct August 3rd. We reach a severely overbought territory in early June. I hope I didn't say August 3rd. I meant June 3rd. This should really say June 3rd. June 3rd. We have a severe, we have a lot of like a notable amount of profit taking from an all-time high, and we're in severely overbought territory on the RSI, so like above 80 on the RSI. I'm advised to be prudent around the high in June. There may be some false tops. That's the high for the year, it appears. Yeah. I'm advised to be prudent. So I just flipped this card. I didn't even get a chance to flip it. It flipped over by itself. I wonder if you can see that. That is the, I don't know. That's the Hanged Man, which is the correlator to the high correlation. So I'm going to say that we're at the month's high. There's a lot going on there that would indicate that we're at an all-time high or an all-year high. I say all-time high because I see the fortune card, but that's not necessarily the case. However, it will be the high, like the all-year high. And then the low of June it forms within close time proximity to the high for June. And it's the indolence card, meaning indicating that the high that we reach there will not be revisited within the time frame of the reading. So within 2022, that's another indication right there that we've reached an all-year high there. Somewhere between the end of May and somewhere between all of June, the end of May, somewhere around there. All right, and then the end of May, we have a very prominent dip. Probably, it looks to me like, actually based on the correlators here, yeah, the end of the month is where, the end of June is where we'll see the June low, and it'll come from a really sharp dip near the that'll be in close proximity to the month's high and the all-year high there. And it's also highlighting the moon as well, so something around the moons there, something to do with the moons. We do have the lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse. That's just it. The lunar eclipse and the solar eclipse, normally you would see their influence transpire like really, really close, but due to the fact that we're in retrograde where all bets are off, like what you expect to happen is the only thing you know will not happen, right? So that would mean that we're going to see some different variation of their influence where it shows up a little bit later, most likely. That's what it's looking like to me, because we have a solar eclipse followed by a lunar eclipse. All right, now July we have a year's low, so there's a 2022 year's low there. Out of that low there, we reach a prominent support level, and that'll be represented by the Knight of Discs. There's also likely something to do with an economic leader or a leader in relation to economics, maybe like the Fed chair or the president talking about economics, something like that, will be highlighted around the low in July, and that's a year's low. Wow. All right, so around the year's high, it's also highlighted highlighted with a male ruler. This time, most likely, it's the president. It might not be our president, but a male ruler of nations. And that'll take place. Let me see here. So I just flipped the truce card to give me a little bit more elaboration on the Emperor card, because sometimes that's not an easy card to read technically. So I'm going to tarotfortraders.com, right? And then I want to see what the truce, if there's a relation between the truce card and the Ace of Swords, and that all that information is here. You just check it out under associated cards. Truce, no. It is not, okay? But there's a notable resistance level that forms there, and it looks to me like we may even revisit one of the year's most prominent resistant levels, like one of the two highs so far. The resistance there, we're likely meeting that towards the very end of July, early August, and that'll be in the midst of some prominent price swings around the July high. They'll be like roughly equal, just back and forth like wild price swings around the high. And then we're going to retrace all the whole move from the low to the high, which will take place at the end of July or early August. It's going to be like a full retracement of a big move to reach the high. There may also be a full retracement from June's high down to the low in July, and then back up to near the June's high or the February high. But there's a full retracement there, like two equal and opposite moves cancel each other's progress out. It's near the high, and it's involved in the high. That big, it's like I call it like a wave. It's up and then right back down to where it came. We also have, I'm being advised to be prudent. There should be some domestic unrest there. And we come out of that month of July falling from a high, which is a technical level. Yes, okay, it's the year's high again. I see that. It's the year's high again. So we retrace that fall that took place at the end of June and into early July. We retrace that fall as we climb off of a support level that we'll call the Night of Discs into another high, a year's high that will take place in August at that same technical level. Not at a new one, but same technical level as the second year's high, which took place there in May, June. Yeah, that's huh. Okay. Then we see another year's low. Actually, that retracement to the high, it's probably right at the end. I mean, it could be in August, early August, but it looks to me like it's probably right at the end of July. And then we have that fall that takes place off of the bouncing back down off of the notable resistance that formed as our year's high. And as we head out of the month of August, we break down through an important support level to meet a second important support level, and then we bounce along that support level for a bit before we break down through multiple levels, and then enter into September with another year's low. This all taking place as we enter into a Mercury retrograde. Makes perfect sense to see a ton of volatility there. And from that year's low that happens in early September, we have a push to a major, like it's a major high. One of the biggest moves to the upside of the year will take place throughout September as we leave Mercury as we enter Mercury station retrograde. Around there, we'll turn bullish. When we meet the September high, that'll be like a resistance level that we do like a sideways S. So we'll meet it and then come back down. We'll fall from it, rise back up, fall from it again. So likely we fall from it. The sideways S will start probably, if you took an S and went like that, so it was like, it'll probably start around like the end of August, or wherever the high is in August. We'll have that decline and then an incline, and then it looks like there's another opportunity in the midst of a fake out near a year's high that takes place in near the low. Actually, a year's high possibly takes place near the year's low in September. Year's low correlator at the beginning of September. There's like a minor correlation to the low in September in relation to a trade around the high in September. So I'd say they're probably pretty close. Something really big on a global scale is going to impact the market. We're going to see a sharp decline somewhere in the midst of a big move off of a low, possibly two. Looks to me like two big moves out of a low. So declining out of August, pushing out off of a year's low in September to reach that same year's high again. Lots of volatility here, and then a sharp decline back down to a month's low. Month's low is it's possibly the same low. It's likely the same low that we saw in early September. It will be like the month's low. We'll see it again at that level, and it'll have something to do with on a global scale, something to do possibly with death. But there's a major trough, a major bottom for the year in August, September, maybe more than one, probably more than one. A fast, sudden move to the upside in the end of, let's say, towards the middle, moving from like the middle into the end of September, there should be a fast, sudden move to the upside. And then that's matched with a sharp decline through multiple support levels that takes place due to multiple negative headwinds that reside somewhere around that Mercury station direct. There's also the second solar eclipse of the year. Out of that early decline, we see a sideways M, or excuse me, we see like an M formation around a low, around a price level around the low for November, excuse me, for October, and it'll also form because of some sort of, there's like some sort of expectation. A lot of people in the majority of the market's expecting something to happen, counting on it to happen. All of a sudden it doesn't happen. There's a surprise failure based on that disappointment. The behavior around the high is going to be either an upside down an upside down U shape or an upside down J shape, where it moves higher and then comes down back, but not as far as it did. That's an upside down J shape. It retraces partially, or it could be a full retracement. Ace of Wands. I'm gonna say probably it's a it's a J shape based on the Magus card being the second card, or the late October card. But again, that's a big move. There's a big move there, guys. Solar eclipse and the end of retrograde. These solar eclipses are both happening right on the edges of retrogrades. Interesting. All right, moving into November, another notable price level is highlighted. It could very well be the same resistance level that we had, that we notated around the high of July, August. So whatever the price level of July, August, it's very likely that we revisit that level in early November based on a rally, like a late rally in October. There's price swings around the high, and also the environment is very much highlighted in the month of November around the highs. It looks to me like we have an opportunity. So the push from those two eclipses, the solar eclipse in October and the lunar eclipse in early November. Excuse me. It's a little tricky area there. We have price swings around the high there in November. That resistance level. Okay. Well, that makes sense. It's that resistance level again that we're coming up against near the year's high because there's volatility there. It's the Ace of Swords kind of energy as well. And then the move to the high is going to be a notable move out of a low that coincides around that lunar eclipse on the 7th or 8th, give or take, let's say 7 days, 5 to 7 days. And then there's an opportunity presented to open to protect long positions or open short positions in the end of November, moving into October or moving into December. Excuse me. And Congress is highlighted in the beginning of December. There's a market failure that leads to December's low. We break down through multiple support levels, as many as seven important notable ones. And let me see this. There's usually a holding pattern when it comes to the Hierophant card, because it's like the market's waiting to find out what the Congress is doing. So generally there's a holding pattern until we find out what happened, in which case sharp decline. Yeah, there's going to be a sharp decline based on, I don't know if you can see it. Looks like it's getting cut out by the green screen technology. But that's the universe card. I'll have to figure out how to do that because that's a little annoying. Yeah, sharp decline. We meet a support level. We decline from the December high, which likely is at the very beginning of. No, excuse me. Let me back up there. We decline sharply. We have a market failure through multiple support levels from the high, and at the bottom we reach the market exhibits some notable sideways rotation, and then towards the end of December we have three crisscrosses through price level, the same price level. So 1, 2, 3, and it confirms an uptrend, and a rally commences at the end of the year. All right, I want to see if there's anything else. I'm gonna go in there and mark this because I'm gonna have this for a year. I'd like to remember. So I'll show you. I'm gonna mark up a little bit more here. Matter of fact, I'll use. I like it better that way. These are just like visual reminders. This is a year's high here. Looks like we probably come up, oops, like I said, come up against it again here. Likely again here. But we won't see this price level again. I'll remind myself that we won't see that price level again. So likely what we see is this price level again. We definitely don't break that price level, that's for sure. I'm gonna do some red in here. We got a low in there, a high in here. A low here. And I'd like to see, sometimes there's other things that you can draw relations to each other. You get the hang of it. You don't even need correlator cards. At some points you can just use a timeline card and what it tells you is going on there, and find a correlation to another timeline card, and that gives you price levels. So like if we have a correlation there to one at the beginning of the year, and we have a correlation to, so we have a timeline card at the beginning of the year, it correlates to another one at the end of the year. The message that I receive is saying to me, you know, this behavior is similar to that behavior, and I'll go and I'll look at it, and sometimes when they correlate to each other, it indicates that it's the same price level. You can start predicting price levels when you come up with stuff like that. That's how I've done it. All right, so that was failure card. I want to see if that correlates with any of these cards here around the lows. 56.30. All right, so I'm basically just putting in some like rough doodles to remind myself, because I'll be using this 1 year spread in December of 2022, just like I used the 1 year spread for 2021 today, the 31st of December. It's still relevant. I may even use it next year to draw price level correlations if I see the need to. All right, and we're gonna do the show colors. Let's see if the Knight of Swords and the Satiety card have a relation. Knight of Discs. Wow. Nope. Highest high, year's highest high over here. June, July, May, June. Year's low, year's slowest low. Beginning of the year, or July. Most likely July. Possibly again, same level. In the end of August, early September. All right, guys, there you have it. So, with all that information, if you were to get sign up for the 1 year, sign up for the free mailing list newsletter, you get the 1 month overviews for the S&P 500 about a week ahead of each month. It also reviews the prior month's predictions, and that's how we're able to determine we have a 97.5% average accuracy with our predictions. The same type of predictions that we just did here. So, guys, what are you waiting for? It's free. And I love helping people. I really appreciate you guys watching this, taking the time to look into my life's work. And I hope this helps more and more people as we progress. Things are getting wild. And likely I'll revisit this spread and be like, wow, I don't even do spreads that way anymore. Because funny thing is this spread was done in May 11th. Again, look, May 11th, 2021, 10 p.m. Last modified today, 5:32. It's 5:34. It's that, right? So, hopefully there'll be when I return to this in December to take a look. I hope that there's like 1,000 times more people that we're helping. Spread the word, the word about this, guys, because really, I mean, it's an abundant universe. Competition is scarcity mentality. It is an abundant universe. We all have our own universe. It's infinite. We can have everything that we want, and everybody else can have everything they want. There's no competition in infinity, but what we make of it. So, spread the word. I'll tell you what there is, something called karma, right? So you put it out there and it comes back to you. I've seen it. I mean, I see patterns everywhere, so I see it. I see them in my daily life. You do something, you get it back ×3. I literally see it, guys. So with that said, throw it out there. You'll get a lot of extra, valuable information back at you from somewhere else, I'm sure. All right, guys. Best of luck to you. Thanks for watching, and blessings. Good luck with 2022, my friends. Take care.